In this fireside session, we're going to hear from Stephan Schambach, the CEO and founder of NewStore, and Jeff Lord, Vice President of Global Direct and Digital Commerce at Burton Snowboards. They're going to be discussing the journey to DTC retail, focusing on the tight integration required of teams, technology, and channels. We're fortunate to have Donny Askin, the principal and founder of TechTurn Consulting, moderating the conversation. Can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Greetings from Boston, and welcome to our conference session, Innovating from the Inside Out for DTC Transformation. Jeff, thanks for that intro. Again, my name is Donny Askin, principal at TechTurn Consulting, a tech exec mentoring consultancy. I'm pleased to be your moderator this morning. Now, I expect that many of you are approaching your Zoom threshold after several days of this conference and the new normal paradigm of unending Zoom meetings. So I'm glad we got you early today, and hopefully you're still fresh. I believe you're all in for a highly educational and thought-provoking session with two industry innovators, Stephan Schambach of NewStore and Jeff Lord of Burton Snowboards. Now, I've been a student of the direct-to-consumer space, having run 8 tech companies over the past decades. Never before in my 40-plus years in the industry have I seen dynamic forces driving change as they are right now. I've been in the vortex of periods of change like the dot-com boom, the dot-com bust, the evolution of cloud computing, retail expansions, retail collapses, but never before have I seen change, existential change, as we're immersed in right now. For those of you who follow Scott Galloway, noted academic, analyst, and cynic, his perspective on this pandemic is that it's an accelerant. It's accelerating change that might have taken 5 to 10 years and demanding that companies evolve instead in 5 to 10 months. Organizations unable to move with such alacrity may soon no longer exist. We're already seeing this with the acceleration of bankruptcies, Chapter 11s, Chapter 7s, store closing, and much of this just happening in the past 4 months. So with that as a backdrop, in this next half hour or so, we're going to discuss how stores must become, as Jeff said earlier, a seamless extension of e-commerce, opening up key omni-channel journeys and driving brand loyalty, and how that is so critical for retailers and brand owners to survive and ultimately thrive. For retailers and brand owners to achieve this critical pivot, it requires efficiencies across every dimension of the business, from organizational alignment to working capital, to store labor, and to systems. So who better to provide insights into the strategic retail journey than visionary entrepreneur Stephan Schambach, and by retail executive and man in the midst of this very kind of transformation, Jeff Lord. Gentlemen, welcome. If you would, please introduce yourselves and your companies to the audience. Stephan, why don't we start with you?
Yes, thank you, Tony. Again, it's Stephan Schambach, CEO and founder of NewStore. And prior to that, Demandware, which some of you know as Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and even earlier the Intershop. So, I really come from the e-commerce part of everything. And at Demandware, we really wondered whether we could extend the sophistication that we developed for e-commerce into stores, but we never got there. So at my new company, NewStore, we're really focusing on bringing all that sophistication from e-commerce into stores, so stores can run more like extensions of the e-commerce website, and with everything that comes to it. And I think mobile technology really became an enabler and allowed us to start this company.
Great, thanks, Stephan. Jeff?
Yeah, hey, Donny and Jeff, both thank you for that introduction. My name is Jeff Lord. I'm VP of Global Digital Commerce and Direct at Burton Snowboards. I'm super honored to be here. We got a massive team behind us and really charting our future. So, I'm pumped to talk on the subject and kind of where Burton's going. So thank you.
Great segue. Thank you both. So let's start our discussion with Burton's Digital Transformation Initiative. Jeff, I understand that 2020 is a year of digital transformation at Burton. And core to that transformation is to be the quintessential omni-channel organization. Delivering seamless omni-channel customer experiences is critical to that journey. I should also note that in support of that commitment, Burton has partnered with NewStore and Salesforce Commerce Cloud to provide a unified e-commerce and physical retail organization. So Jeff, can you tell us about Burton's vision to shift away from wholesale to a more digital-first D2C brand?
Yeah, no worries. So, Burton's Burton's about 43 years old today. It was primarily built on wholesale partnerships that our founders, Jake and Donna, established globally when it was just the two of them in Londonderry, Vermont back in 1977. And, you know, those relationships that our wholesalers have built with our customers help get our foot in the door at a time when, you know, resorts wouldn't allow snowboarders. There's still 3 resorts, at least in the US, that don't allow snowboarders: Deer Valley, Alta, and one locally, Mad River Glen. And so, you know, for clarity, Burton's vision isn't to completely shift away from that traditional wholesale model. It's to focus more on the customer experience and put the focus towards where our opportunity is to control that better. You know, our traditional wholesalers have been with us before, and going forward, we want to be with them to grow. As you know, we're all serving one Burton customer at the end of the day. But when we start thinking about the next 43 years, which we do often here, you know, to scale that customer experience globally, it's a massive opportunity for Burton to facilitate that move from kind of the couch to the mountain, and own that entire experience along the way. You know, we internally want to become a digital first, customer centric retailer. And for brands, you know, it's much more than just making and selling products, especially today. And so, you know, leading with our purpose and our values has always been core to our business. You know, we're still a privately held, family-run company based in Vermont that thrives in the mountains. Jake and Donna have built that into our brand, our community, and, you know, they've created a sport that's now in the Olympics, focus on riding together and having fun. And so to bring that experience to the masses in a consistent and scalable manner is really what we're trying to get after. I mean, sure, there's a financial incentive to focus on more profitable customer touch points like digital and direct and to mitigate future risk by having more control over our distribution. But, you know, when we talk about the next 43 years, it's really about controlling that entire experience from the couch to the mountain, and with that customer directly, so they know they're part of our community as we go forward. I'm super pumped on it. I'm extremely lucky, and I can't wait to watch it.
I should point out that you're an avid snowboarder yourself.
I am, very much so.
Great. Stephan, we've both been actively involved in the DTC space for multiple decades. Through fits and starts, direct-to-consumer has evolved considerably. D2C today is not the D2C of 20, 10, or even 2 years ago. I think it's safe to say that D2C has evolved dramatically in just the past 4 months. It seems that a new model is emerging right now. So Stephan, tell us what direct-to-consumer means to you today.
Well, the old model used to be for brands to, you know, worry about brand building, marketing, product, and then, you know, work primarily with wholesalers to sell it. Then came e-commerce. E-commerce for the first time enabled brands to have a direct relationship with customers, oftentimes while keeping the wholesale relationships in place. But, you know, it turns out that wholesale is not a channel to rely on. Many wholesale partners have canceled their orders in COVID times, and there have been challenges before because department style retailing, or basically the reselling of other people's goods at lower margins, is just a difficult model in a time of the, you know, transparency that the internet affords in pricing. So, you know, at the same time, paths to go to the customer directly have become much more efficient and affordable. So, you know, as a logical consequence of that, brands today can basically be built with very little reliance on wholesale. And if it's wholesale, often it's new types of wholesale partners, for example, digital marketplaces instead of, you know, department stores. And sort of on the retail side, what's interesting is that it used to be seen as a different business, one with its own P&L. In some instances, every store is its own P&L. But the new model is more like, okay, if I know the customer who's coming into a store, just like the website knows because of the cookie that's been set, and I know what the customer is buying, returning, exchanging, or whatever he or she is doing, then I can look at these stores more like an experience and a customer acquisition vehicle. And I'm applying e-commerce style formulas to sort of my my rollout of stores, right? You have a customer acquisition cost, you have a customer lifetime value. As not, one example would be one of our customers on Tucket, where oftentimes, these shirts that are worn over the pants, they have to fit really perfectly. So, they acquire a lot of customers in stores for the first time who afterwards feel comfortable buying online. So if you basically can structure your business like this, stores become more of a brand and customer acquisition vehicle, almost like a marketing investment that you can control through data. If you have the data available, right? If you gather it in the store. And it turns out that customer acquisition in the right type of retail format is 30 to 40% less expensive than online only. Online only is due to the monopoly of Facebook and a duopoly of Facebook and Google, it's become very expensive. So direct to consumer now has other venues to find new customers and meet them where they are. Obviously, with Burton on the mountain, right? So I think this is the new type of D2C model that we're increasingly going to see. There are also interesting other effects. I know of many brands who are buying their franchises businesses back because some of this is not really compatible with an arm's length relationship. Omnichannel only works if a brand can really control all the channels. And yes, it's definitely the new model, and retail stores per se won't go away. They will just be run very differently, more like a customer acquisition vehicle with less inventory. Maybe 30-40% is what I'm hearing from our customers, where it's more normal that some of the items are not available in the store. They're being shipped from a website or from another store, and everything is tightly integrated.
We're in the midst of a seismic change, and a lot of the stuff we've been talking about for 10, 20 years, but is actually coming to realization as we speak right now. So you both shared your perspective on digital transformation and direct to consumer. Let's talk a bit about organization, technology, and channels, critical elements in the digital transformation journey. Without alignment, without removing the silos in all of these elements, success is certainly difficult to achieve. So Jeff, let's start with teams and organizations. Direct and digital commerce are both fall under your purview at Burton. What steps did Burton take to ensure organizational alignment at the start of your digital transformation?
Yeah, for sure. So for clarity, Burton is on our digital transformation currently. We've completed a lot of work so far, but we still have a ton left to do. So, digital transformation, to me, it's a big, scary word that can be caught up with other buzzwords and allow for individuals to apply their own personal subjectivity to what it means. There is no Merriam-Webster definition of what digital transformation is. But when I think about back to the beginning, about a year and a half ago, when we kind of started this journey, when we tried to gain alignment across the company, it was really by three things: being simple, communicating, and committing to see it through. So when we kind of start bucketing those out, digital transformation and simplicity are sadly usually not applied together. We're a snowboard company. We are not nuclear physicists by any means. And so, our goal was to be able to clearly define what Burton's digital transformation is, and then be able to articulate that message from our senior management, our founders, our board, all the way down to our retail store employees. This was imperative for upfront alignment. Clarity was our number one goal. And then, focusing on the communication aspect, we didn't want to hide behind this big, scary word and wanted to be extremely transparent about the project. And that forced us to do a few things. One is create a calendar of shared milestones and check-ins around the project status that were company-wide. The second is we really hosted global seminars and conducted trainings with individual teams up front. Back when we were allowed to travel internationally, we were in region and conducting all team meetings in the regions that we operate in. Our third bullet point was really wanted to make any information about the project accessible to anybody, anytime, anywhere by publishing it on our own intranet. And then I think the biggest thing that we did was we created an internal change agent representative within HR that would facilitate outreach to individual teams or individuals that this could be affecting. But it was also for a place it was a place for people to reach out to if they had concerns or questions around what was going on. And once we established those first two, the last one of getting commitment from our senior leadership, our board, our founders, we obviously had to put together a long-term business plan to justify like our immediate investment. But the most exciting thing is how eager and committed our company was to begin to build that direct relationship with our customer, something that we didn't really have prior to in our 43-year history. So, this project I'm lucky enough to be a part of. It's going to shape Burton going forward and hopefully the sport. And I can't wait to watch that and what Burton does for the next 43 years.
So when did this project get underway?
Officially last June. Work started in January.
And how long have you been at Burton?
I've been for 3 years.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Stephan, you've built companies that enable commerce and omnichannel and other companies, and you've owned and operated your own companies. What advice would you share with our audience and that you give to retailers as far as breaking down the silos between teams and to ensure success?
Well, it obviously really helps if the founders or the CEO understand what technology can achieve and what it's doing in retail and e-commerce. So I think those who don't understand it and don't want to hear those who do understand that, they will be left behind. And then that I found is really the most important thing. Sometimes the CEOs are themselves the change agents. That is one of the most effective methods to making change happen. Sometimes they know it is important and empower other people around them to make the right decisions, and that oftentimes means that they have to bring in new talent that wasn't there in the company. Mm-hmm. So that's critical. I can tell you what does not work at all is if you have a more established retailer that used to work and think in different channels and silos, if they just get the order to become more digital, then there will be point investments in the different silos, but they don't break down the barriers, I think. So that's often the biggest challenge is really organizational, and it starts at the top.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So structural organizational change, it's always difficult, I think, as you were pointing out. And success would be challenged, to your point, without alignment from top to bottom. So it's really critical that's garnered early on. So, but organization is just one piece of this puzzle. Another critical component is technology, having the right tools to support the transformation. Jeff, can you share Burton's position on technology as a means to drive the brand's digital transformation on both the business as well as the customer side?
Yeah, sure. So the role of technology is obviously integral in any digital transformation project. Burton's goal going forward is to become a consumer-centric digital-first retailer. And to do that, we need a solid infrastructure to build on. So, how we've approached our technology investment for our digital transformation was into 3 buckets. The first was data quality. We need to get our data under control. So what that meant for us was, enterprise data catalog, customer and product master data management, and global data marts around the world, right? Our direct business operates in 32 countries, 9 currencies, 6 separate languages, and 4 continents right now. To make sure all that data is scalable and accessible across the world was extremely important to us, something that, a snowboard company never really valued as much as in today's world. And then our second biggest thing was streamlining our customer-facing applications, right? This meant for us anywhere a consumer interacts directly with us to be consistent architecturally across the world. That meant partnering, with NewStore and Salesforce for our future. So when we looked at those consumer touch points, it was really a new point of sale in our retail stores, an omnichannel solution completely integrated into our website, a new customer service solution, and an integrated marketing solution to really tie all that together. So we start to get a full look at the customer journey. And then, to be able to support these new cloud-based tools, we really had to think about or upgrade our foundational systems. So that meant an upgrade to our ERP. And what that meant was a new financial solution, a new supply chain solution, a new planning solution in kind of the digital e-commerce world. So, all three of these things are highly complex, but again, going back to our core kind of principles at the beginning, being simplistic in our message, it was a lot easier to get commitment top to bottom for this massive journey that Burton is on.
So clearly, go big or go home, huh?
Go big or go home. Wait 43 years, do it all.
Stephan, we're seeing the COVID-19 pandemic accelerate the use of technology by successful D2C brands, as we're talking about right here. For brands in a reset situation or digital transformation like Burton, how can technology create efficiencies throughout the entire organization?
Yes. As a consequence of traditional retail organizations being siloed, even if they had e-commerce, the systems that are in widespread use are also siloed. So a POS doesn't know anything about the website. Order management system may not have any interfaces that are useful in the store. Clienteling systems may be non-existent or bolted onto something, and then obviously there are various types of warehouse management and ERP and other systems. None of them built for a omnichannel world. In fact, most of them started their life before the internet became popular for online shopping. So they're very old, and the attempt to just patch them together leads to very frustrating outcomes and to shopping experiences for customers that are riddled with friction and disappointments. Let me give you a practical example. The POS systems, the traditional POS systems, are built to sell what's in the store. Therefore, their inventory accuracy wasn't ever expected to be better than 70%, right? And so all the processes and the tools around keeping the store inventory accurate are very average, to say the least. In an omnichannel world, you want to know exactly what you have in inventory because you cannot disappoint the customer. So what can you do? You can either have a very high safety stock level, and if you do that, you run the risk of having items that are not being sold at full price at the end of the season, but being sold at a discount. Or you can ship from the website for store pickup 2 days later, both of which is totally suboptimal. So, but it's what you get if you just patch together your existing systems. So we found at NewStore that certain things need to be in one central real-time environment that is not reliant on batch and synchronization with other systems. And basically online and offline have to live together in one database. That's what we've been doing at NewStore, essentially. We brought POS, endless aisle, meaning the sale of items that are not available in the store, clienteling, and a whole bunch of other omnichannel capabilities together, and made them such that they provide a service to the website as well. So for processes like buy online, pick up in store, or buy online, ship from store. And it's all real time. It's a SaaS-based system. It is nimble, easy, relatively easy. There's nothing easy in omnichannel, but they're relatively easy to integrate. And I think that's the key to success here. The integration of legacy systems and the ever sort of the ongoing patches will never lead to greatness, right? For that, a fresh start needs to happen, and we are so proud to be working with Burton, where that fresh start actually not only has happened, but the stores in the US, for example, they're now operating like a model, omnichannel setup.
So just to echo what you said, old habits certainly die hard, and omnichannel, the digital connected retail experience, is really about both channel and technology synergy. And if you get it right, they're the foundation for company's growth and evolution, which is more than the bet that Burton has made. So Jeff, can you tell us about what benefits you hope to see offering your customers digital-first experiences? Probably Stephan touched on a few of those as he spoke. How will this help Burton grow into the future?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, hope is maybe a strong word. We pick the right partners to expand with that allows us, to meet the consumer where they are long term, and it's going to be awesome to see what the team does going forward. But benefits out the gate, you'll begin to see true omnichannel. What Stephan was just talking about. The direct-to-consumer benefits of buy online, pick up in store, buy online, ship from store, buy online, return in store, something highly often overlooked in the purchase process. Curbside pickup, right? I don't know the future of when certain stores are opening in certain markets, but curbside pickup allows us to kind of navigate around that. Holistic order management, right? Order fulfillment tracking all the way to advanced order routing across our network, making sure we're being more efficient with our costs on direct selling costs and freight out to make sure that our customer can maybe get it faster or it can be cheaper on our end. Mobile point of sale, what Stephan talked about earlier, bringing that real, truly digital look and feel with inside our stores. What that provides us is effortless checkout, contactless payments, and line busting during our peak times. We're a very seasonal business. Our lines get long. Having the flexibility to remove the cash wrap from our Burton guides, our retail store employees is huge. We have store mobility, right? We have 6,500 square foot stores all the way down to 1,000 square foot stores. And we have very complex products of snowboards and jackets. So to be able to move around the store freely is huge for our associates, and it really empowers them either to sell or guide a customer at the store or even in the future at the base of a mountain. What Stephan talked about is that inventory system of action, sell anything and get that real-time inventory, something that's nirvana for a lot of retailers, right? The ability to transact all across D2C inventory and potentially company-wide inventory is huge for us. And then clienteling, really where we're going to start getting into, which is, our goal is to get that true unified 360 view of the customer, whether they're browsing something online or they bought something in store, to be able to help guide their next purchase or their repeat purchase or their first purchase even. And so the second part of the question is growth. I think the biggest things is we're kind of taking a foundational, or the biggest buckets we're going to start looking at is, access to the customer from anywhere, right? From the couch to the mountain, whatever it may be. We want to be able to educate the customer from anywhere, right? We have the technical products of different board shapes all the way to different jacket cuts. So what do you need to be on when, depending on weather conditions, activity you're doing, but also that transact anywhere. If it is on a mountain, awesome. Let's figure out how to get it done. There's a lot of opportunity for growth in the future, but setting that foundation now is truly important for our customer today.
I think you created a new category, bullpen, buy online, pick up on mountain, right?
There you go. I'm into it.
All right, that works. Now, you guys are certainly ahead of the curve here, I think, amongst many, but one of the interesting opportunities this pandemic economy has afforded forward-thinking companies like your own is the ability to accelerate change without the common everyday noise of normal operations. Stephan, what do you think D2C organizations need to consider today to scale and future-proof for the business tomorrow?
It helps to look a little bit into the future and also in other industries. So, for example, the ride-hailing industry turned from taxi cabs with dispatchers and custom hardware in the cabs to one that's entirely run on, smartphone apps and with a cloud backend. That's going to happen to retail. That is going to happen to retail, and there's no reason why you couldn't operate a retail store that's connected with a website entirely on smartphones with no other hardware in the store, no cash drawer, no printer, no Wi-Fi. You can have 5G or put a SIM card in it, and no terminals. I think terminals are going to be they're currently necessary to accept plastic, but e-commerce payment methods will move into the stores. Why is that? Well, for one thing, if you have a mixed transaction that includes items that are taken from the store and items that are shipped from elsewhere, so a combination of a normal checkout and endless aisle, you need customs shipping information. So e-commerce style payment methods benefit here. Then currently COVID is training customers that their phone is their wallet. So this is going to become something that's more normal. And pretty soon it's going to be completely normal if a checkout happens between the smartphones of the store associate and the customer. We can do that today. We had hoped for quick adoption, but it was a little bit slower than we thought. But boy, COVID has really accelerated this. I mean, nobody wants to touch a terminal anymore to type in a PIN, for example. It's just over. Or touch a receipt that a store associate has printed and touched before. These things will just go away, and faster than we thought, including terminals. Terminals are going to be a thing of the past. It's an additional piece of hardware, a relic, maybe still required for 2 or 3 years, but they're on their way out.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. So we've all been painting a pretty rosy picture thus far, but I suspect all the glitters isn't gold here. So Jeff, we've talked about all the things that need to be done and that you're doing to drive digital transformation. So tell me, or tell our audience where you've encountered obstacles, potholes. Have you found that despite your best efforts, there are detractors, and what can you do to minimize that beyond some of the stuff you've already shared with us?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to be clear, it's not just me. There's a massive team above, to the side, below that are doing the majority of the work, right? My direct team is just lucky enough to reap the benefits of what they're going to be putting out and give it to our customers. So, when I look at any transformation of a business, I've seen 2 of these now, and you're always going to have challenges and potholes, right? Lack of communication, lack of clarity around project plan. And we're trying to address that as much as possible, but it's always going to come up. And whether these potholes come across our people, our process, or our new tech, those are expected. But to minimize that, we always try to focus on simplicity, communication, and commitment to finding a solution. I guess one of my favorite books of all time is Endurance. It's about Ernest Shackleton, the first person to crew a boat to Antarctica. And the main theme about the book is resiliency. We're on a 2 to 3 year project here. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be potholes. It's about how you kind of bounce back. And I swear, if 2020 has taught us anything, it's about resiliency. So, it's just a core tenet of ours that we're going to continue to push forward and get through this. And yeah, it's going to be really, really good on the other side of it.
Great, good stuff. We only have a few more minutes, so one question for each of you to wrap things up here. So Stephan, you and I chatted about the concept that's now NewStore years before you made NewStore reality. Where do you see retail and commerce heading 5 years from now? What future problem are you solving today in that crystal ball, visionary, entrepreneurial mind of yours?
Well, I mentioned a couple of things already, right? I mean,
yeah.
For specialty retail and brands, cash will not play a big role. It would pretty much be gone. I think electronic payments will move from plastic to e-commerce style payment methods such as Google Pay, Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, and PayPal in-store, from phone to phone, not using a terminal. I think we're going to see that. Many specialty retailers who today have a more traditional inventory management will switch to serialized inventory because you need precision. You need real precision, and serialized inventory is not going to be represented by just RFID. There are new and interesting methods with Bluetooth LE and other methods to serialize inventory. It's going to be one of the catalysts for precision and data-driven retail. And that will also enable convenience for the customers. Receipts will not play any role anymore by then, right? If you can identify the serial number of a product, then you know which transaction it belongs to. So all that complexity also from the consumer side of having to keep receipts or none of this will be there in 5 years.
Fantastic. So Jeff, you and I just recently met, but it's pretty clear to me that you've been around the block more than a few times in this space. So what do you see as future challenges and opportunities as you look at commerce and retail 5 years out?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, been around the block, but no, I think there's a few big things. The first is, that we're really watching is the reposition of brick and mortar, right? Like Stephan talked about if we're carrying 30 to 40% less inventory, what are we going to do with that space, right? There's been the buzzword of experiential retail. Well, now we're probably going to see what that looks like for most branded retailers. The second biggest thing is I think that we're going to start seeing is a clear impact of digital on all things we do. Stephan talked about as well, the mobile device is centered around everything we do, right? COVID has erased that barrier of shopping online and making digital adoption more of the norm. And whether it's shopping on social media platforms, C2C transactions and messenger apps, digital payments via our phone, all of this will be intertwined around our handheld device. The average, I read a stat the other day, the average American spends about 4 to 5 hours of screen time a day, which accounts for like 15 years on a lifespan. Tech is going to be center at everything we do. The next big point, I think, kind of why we're having this omnichannel discussion is that holistic omnichannel view, right? Marketplace integration, controlling the distribution just outside of your historical four walls or your e-commerce website, almost making an omni-type P&L. So your marketing spend can be tracked across channel, right? At the end of the day, it's a customer service. We have to make sure that we're looking at our customer. It doesn't matter where they bought; they're a Burton customer at the end of the day. So really looking at the business holistically and making sure you have the tech to meet it. And then I think the last one, which is key for branded retailers, is kind of the diversity of revenue streams. Most recently, Lululemon acquiring Mirror. Is huge, and not only does that add a potential secondary revenue stream to their business, but it also is more about acquiring their consumers' data that could essentially affect their supply chain and push it down a little bit, which is super exciting for the future. If we look at from the couch to the mountain, there's tons there, and how do we access it, Burton? But there's tons out there for other branded retailers as well. So. It's an exciting future. I'm pumped to be a part of it in the position I'm in. I'm extremely lucky, and yeah, I can't wait.
So what are we thinking about heads-up in-visor monitors for mobile access while you're on the mountain? Does that work?
There you go.
I think that pretty much brings us to our conclusion. I want to thank you, Stephan and Jeff, for sharing your experience and your wisdom. It was amazing. I want to also thank our audience for participating in the session. I hope you found it as enlightening as I did. So enjoy the rest of the conference. Over and out from Boston. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.